The spiritual law of creation states, all things begin in the spiritual realm of mind, as an idea. When the idea is emotionally charged with faith, the one who conceived of the idea becomes aware of new opportunities and different ways to proceed forward. That which begins as a thought, an idea, begins to manifest in the realm of physical reality. Such is the story of Unity Temple on the Plaza. During this creation period, hundreds of things had to happen at the precise time, in the precise location, by the precise people. From the idea and vision of Unity Temple to its completed construction, there were many problems, challenges, and setbacks that had to be overcome. More than anything else, Unity Temple on the Plaza is a story of faith. Unabridged, unrelenting, emotionally charged faith. Faith is a spiritual power that resides in each of us. And please join with me as we explore how Unity Temple came about. Our story begins on August 6th of 1845 in Pagetown, Ohio, with the birth of Mary Carolyn Page. At a young age, Mary Carolyn chose to be called Myrtle. At that same age, her dream, her desire, was to teach young children how to make the world a better place. When Myrtle was 29 years old, she enrolled at Oberlin College in Ohio to study the literary course for ladies. Upon graduation, Myrtle moved to Texas to become a school teacher of young children. Charles Fillmore was born on August 22, 1854, in St. Cloud, Minnesota. As a young man, he ventured out on his own, moved to Texas, and found work with the railroad. Now, it is a mystery how a young woman from Ohio moved to a specific town in Texas, and how a young man from Minnesota moved to that very same town, how they happened to meet, and what caused the starbursts and thunderclaps of love when they did meet. The two of them became smitten with each other and married in 1881. In 1884, Charles and Myrtle moved to Kansas City, where he sold real estate. They had 3 sons, Lowell, Rickard, and Royal. Soon after the birth of their third child, a dark cloud cast a shadow over the joy and the optimism in their lives. At the age of 40, Myrtle became very ill. She was told she had inherited tuberculosis and had less than 6 months to live. When traditional medicine could not provide support for her healing, she began to research alternative means of healing. Myrtle began to attend lectures by practitioners who were on the cutting edge of spiritual healing. After one lecture, Myrtle had an epiphany. She awakened to the truth that she was an expression, a creation of divine spirit, and it was through that very spirit she could be healed. She discovered affirmative prayer. Instead of pleading with God to give her something or to make something happen, Myrtle affirmed that what she asked for was already in the process of happening. She prayed and meditated daily for over 2 years. She communicated positive healing thoughts to the cells in her body. Myrtle's faith never wavered, and she went on to live another 46 years. Witnessing this incredible healing, Charles Fillmore began to study all the religions of the world. He also studied the link between science and spirituality. Both Charles and Myrtle began to write about their beliefs in a periodical they published called Modern Thought. The movement had begun. The only question was, what do we call it? After one group meditation, Charles pronounced, "Our name shall be Unity." The Fillmore's writings became wildly popular. People from all over the country wanted to know more about Unity. Myrtle would take telephone calls daily from people who wanted to know about the healing process she had experienced. She prayed with them over the telephone. She taught them and encouraged them. She also wrote letters to people who had written her. Each letter was positive, uplifting, and hopeful. An organization was started called the Society of Silent Help, the purpose of which was to pray with people in person on the telephone, or through letters. Today, this 24-hour prayer service is known as Silent Unity, which employs hundreds of people and prays with millions of people all over the world. While Myrtle focused on her prayer ministry, Charles continued to write books and give lectures. One of his most popular publications was a devotional called Daily Word. Still published today, Daily Word has over 700,000 subscribers in 120 different countries. Unity Church was founded in 1889. Their headquarters were at 9th and Tracy in Kansas City. As the Unity movement continued to expand, in the summer of 1906, the Fillmores opened Unity Inn, Kansas City's first all-vegetarian restaurant, in an old house near headquarters. The Unity Inn became so successful it quickly outgrew its space. They opened a new two-story restaurant at the corner of 9th and Tracy. The new Unity Inn was one of the largest vegetarian restaurants in the United States, serving as many as 10,000 meals per week. Charles Fillmore was a dreamer, a visionary. He believed all people had the capacity to realize their desires if they had emotionally charged faith. He had a vision of a magnificent temple on the Country Club Plaza in Kansas City. The temple would be dedicated to his wife, Myrtle. With very little money available, Charles bought a lot at the corner of 47th and Jefferson, and he committed to paying $5,000 a year for 8 years. This land would be the future home of Myrtle Fillmore Temple on the Plaza, later to become known as Unity Temple on the Plaza. Unity Temple was 15 years in the planning stage. Several different designs for the future temple were conceived by renowned architects. The styles ranged from Art Deco to Classical to Spanish Mediterranean. This was a time of great optimism and enthusiasm and growth for Unity. They were on a positive path brimming with possibilities. The path should have been a smooth one, but life cannot always be predicted. 10 months after the purchase of the lot at 47th and Jefferson, on October 29, 1929, the day remembered as Black Tuesday, the Great Depression began. The stock market crashed, thousands of businesses were closed, millions of people lost their jobs and could not find work. In addition, contributions began to dwindle and hardship set in. In 1931, Myrtle Fillmore, Charles' lifelong love, partner, and soulmate, made her transition at the age of 86. 2 weeks before she died, she went around and said goodbye to all the people who worked at Unity. She said it was her time to move on, and went home to bed and peacefully waited for God to come take her away. In 1939, World War II broke out, causing a shortage of building materials, fuel, and construction workers, delaying further the building of the temple. But Charles Fillmore's faith remained strong. His vision was alive and emotionally charged. He did the best he could under the circumstances. With what he had, he persevered and moved forward. One hot day in July of 1945, 65 30-foot pillars and approximately 199,000 bricks came together in the corner of 47th and Jefferson, and Charles' vision of the temple began to manifest in the physical realm. About a year later, on a dark, wintry, cold, and bleak night, a small group of people gathered around a conference table at the 9th and Tracy headquarters. An official for the construction company had asked for an urgent meeting with them. He informed them as a result of the war, there's a great shortage of building materials and a steep increase in prices. All estimates given to them previously were now obsolete. Instead of the total cost of the temple being $600,000, it would now cost over $1 million. The people in the room fell silent. It was as if a heavy weight had fallen upon them, presenting to them an impossible task. Charles and Myrtle's son, Lowell, was the head of the temple building committee. He began to call on local banks for a loan to complete the temple. Every banker he talked to gave him a flat-out no. They all suggested he cut his losses, stop construction, and give up on the project. It seemed as if it all had come to an end. Charles Fillmore knew the only way to continue construction of the temple was to find the necessary funds from unconventional sources. So he presented his vision of the temple to the world, and the world responded. Over 100,000 people from all over the world donated to the Temple Fund, some as far away as Australia, South Africa, and all of the European nations. Many have wondered why someone in South Africa would donate to a building in Kansas City, a building most of them would never step inside. Well, they had captured Charles's vision. They were inspired by his faith, but most importantly, they believed the temple was what the world needed. In 1945, Charles Fillmore broke ground. The temple began to show signs of completion. Hundreds of people participated in the construction. Electricians, plumbers, bricklayers, architects joined together to build a temple. And let us not forget little Bobby, the water boy for the project. In the hot summer sun, with little shade, he would make the rounds to the construction area, making sure the workers were well hydrated. The temple tower soon rose 120 feet in the air. It could be viewed for miles around as the tallest building in the plaza and considered a great symbol of hope. 57,000 square feet of interior space provided ample room for a multitude of classes, services, concerts, and prayer rooms. The main sanctuary seated 1,400 people. Although money was short, no expense was spared when it came to quality materials and exquisite design. The architectural detail was rich with spiritual symbolism. A variation of the ancient Egyptian sun disk was adapted as a unity wing. The globe in the middle symbolizes the human aspect of people, that which is of the earth. The wings represent the spiritual aspect of human beings. When aligned with one's spiritual nature, he or she can rise above and successfully manage any situation or circumstance that may hamper one's peace of mind and sense of well-being. The love window, designed by Reverend Ellie Meyer, depicts the evolution of humanity's understanding of spiritual love. At the bottom of the window, there is the earth, that from which we all came forth. Resting upon it is a book of sacred wisdom, inscribed by the word love, the center point of all religions. Above the book is a five-pointed star, representing the five ministries of unity, which are inspiration, education, prayer, well-being, and community. The center of the star is the eternal Christ light, or the light of wisdom. In the Charles Fillmore Chapel, a mural is inscribed in the chancel wall with the verse from the first chapter of Colossians, Christ in you, your hope of glory. The Christ represents the divine potential in all people as expressed by Jesus Christ. Throughout the temple, there are hundreds of architectural details of ancient design and spiritual significance. There are over 60 stained glass windows inspiring faith, peace, harmony, and love. The building was dedicated as a haven of rest and inspiration for all people, and was later expanded to a place where diversity is praised and peace and harmony are the rewards. There are two Judys who were born into unity, christened in unity, engaged in Unity's youth studies, and they attended services at the 9th and Tracy location. They were present at the grand opening of the temple on June 20th, 1948, and remained active and committed members long into the future. The sanctuary would not be completed for another year, so the first Sunday worship time was held in the lower level called Community Hall. Community Hall was not large enough for the Easter service, so it was held at the Plaza Theater. The following year, when the sanctuary was completed, the first service was on Easter Sunday, 1950. The legacy we have been blessed with is the result of hundreds of people who came before us and displayed faith, commitment, contributions, and positivity. At this time, we give thanks to the senior minister CEOs who have directed and guided Unity Temple through the years. We start with Myrtle Fillmore, Charles Fillmore, Ernest Wilson, Lowell Fillmore, Ellie Meyer, Paul Barrett, Bill Cameron, Max Lasper, and his secretary, a young wet-behind-the-ears wannabe minister who came down from the Dakotas to join him. Then there was Martha Judici, Jim Rosemergy, and Albert Adolke. These ministers were people doing great things and were successful because of the great people who joined with them in a higher vision. In 1991, Unity Temple entered its Renaissance period. At 53 years old, it became clear that church and religion needed to evolve and adapt to the changing times. New ways of providing spiritual support and healthy lifestyles began to emerge. Unity Temple soon grew from a church that offered Sunday morning and Wednesday evening services to a bustling center with spiritual classes, services, workshops, support groups, social events, and other activities. Every day, from 9 to 9, 7 days a week. In 1993, the Cornerstone Foundation was founded as a Temple Speakers Forum. Partnering with Vivian Jennings and Roger Dorn of Rainy Day Books, world-renowned speakers, including past presidents of the United States, were brought to Kansas City to speak at Unity Temple. In 1994, two young women, Sandy Corder and Monica Dabrowski, had a reputation for providing outstanding vegetarian food. They were hired to cater an Easter reception at Unity Temple, which drew rave reviews. Soon after, they opened up Eden Alley Restaurant on the lower level. Monica went on to follow her unique and individual path. Sandy never left. Her husband Greg joined her in the operation of the restaurant. Now in their 25th year, Eden Alley holds the same high standards that Fillmore's had at the Unity Inn. They only use the finest produce, grown by organic farmers in the area. Many of the recipes are of Sandy's own creation, and every detail is closely watched to assure quality. Unity Temple is blessed to have the #1 vegetarian restaurant in the Midwest to carry on the great tradition of excellence initiated by the Fillmores. In the mid-90s, society was changing. People were becoming more aware of alcohol and drug abuse. 12-step support groups became popular for those seeking recovery. In the mid-1980s, 3 retired men from the railroad began to meet once a week at Unity Temple to facilitate an AA support group. Today, Unity Temple has over 20 12-step support group meetings weekly with over 300 people attending. In 1994, Tim Whitmer started a revolutionary new program at Unity Temple. It was called Spirituality and All That Jazz, and the concept was an immediate hit. Since more and more people were becoming alcohol-free, and because so many senior citizens preferred not to go to the bars, Tim presented a monthly jazz concert in an auditorium setting at Unity Temple. It was alcohol-free, smoke-free, and very close to admission-free. Close. Tim brought the best jazz artists in the Kansas City area to perform at Unity Temple. His vision and the faith he had in the program prevailed, and they recently celebrated their 24th anniversary, making it the longest continuing jazz program in the country. In the late 1990s, interest in Buddhism began to grow around the country and in Kansas City. In 1996, Ben Worth founded the American Buddhist Center at Unity Temple. This was not a competition to Christianity, and it wasn't seen as a religion. It was simply a way to live closer to the spiritual truth and closely aligned with Unity's principles based on the teachings of Jesus Christ. Today it is known as the Temple Buddhist Center, and it is flourishing with classes and services under the direction of Victor Doherty. With meditation as one of the cornerstones for spiritual living, Serenity Pause at Unity Temple began in the early years of the 2000s. Serenity Pause offers a 30-minute meditation every day at 12:10 p.m. and 5:30 p.m., 365 days a year, to all people at no charge. Over the last 70 years, Unity Temple has evolved into a community center, a cultural arts venue, a prayer and healing center, a spiritual education institute, and a place of retreat from life's struggles, or rejoice in life's rewards. Unity Temple is a place where difficult times are made better, and where good times are made better. When the name Unity Temple is used, it is referring to the building, a spiritual home, a place where many diverse activities take place. Although church is a part of Unity Temple, its greater purpose is that of a center for well-being, where everybody is welcome to engage in various sources of spiritual nourishment. The mission of Unity Temple is to be a source of support and inspiration to all people for the increase of their well-being. Under the direction of Steve Perry and his support team, consisting of the chancel choir, Robert, Clara, and Lucas Farragut, and with the backup of Lynn and Kim Sheik, who have been singing in the choir for 30 years, the music program at Unity Temple has become known as outstanding in the area. The beautiful landscaping and manicured grounds are the result of the garden fairies. In the early 2000s, Nancy Addy conceived of the garden fairy team, and she committed to being completely responsible for the grounds. As a team, they worked tirelessly, volunteering their time, and provide us with much beauty. Sandra Campbell has been an active member of Unity Temple for over 30 years. She came on staff in 2012 as an associate minister. She leads the We Rise Wednesday evening service. She heads up the Unity Urban School for minister ordainment. She serves on the board of Unity Worldwide and is the founder and facilitator of Courageous Conversations, a program that has gone nationwide. Reverend Ian Doherty became associate minister in 2014. In a very short period of time, she has created a greater sense of community at Unity Temple, headed up many outreach community projects. She has created Youth Thrive, the Educational Institute of Unity Temple, Unite, an interspiritual Sunday service, the Enneagram program, and so much more. Today, Unity Temple is a spiritual home for a countless number of people. Over 5,000 people come through the doors every week to engage in approximately 70 different activities. It is a beacon of light for the Kansas City community. As dedicated in the beginning, Unity Temple is a haven of rest and inspiration for all people. This is your spiritual home, whether for a day or a lifetime, a place you can be proud of, a place you can have faith in, a place that will be here for you in the future. Unity Temple, 70 years strong, uplifting people to greater levels of well-being and a greater relationship with God.